Apparently, some people over at CBR believe that James Gunn's new DCU is somehow saving DC Comics. It's a bold new era, and DC Comics has never been this great, and things are working hand in hand, and it's so amazing. And I can tell you right now, that ain't happening at all. Not at all. To begin with, why would anybody even think that James Gunn is saving DC Comics? James Gunn has nothing to do with DC Comics. He's not on the board, he's not a part of the comic lineup, nothing. James Gunn has nothing to do with DC Comics. James Gunn has his DCU that he's literally poisoning at the moment, but what does that have to do with DC Comics? DC Comics is DC Comics, and a lot of people are walking away from DC Comics because the things are getting a little freaking out of hand, but that's what's happening. But apparently, this article somehow believes that that's something different for some reason, and nobody is sure why. Let's dive into it. James Gunn's new DCU is breaking from DC's track record and respecting the publisher's long history. Ha ha! That is rich. Every new movie or show Gunn announces comes with clear nods to the comics that inspired it. Really? The upcoming Supergirl film wears its influences on its sleeve, while Creature Commandos is already driving fans back to dig through obscure back issues. Let me start off there, right? Is it that, James Gunn's new DCU is breaking from DC's track record and respecting the publisher's long history? So respecting the publisher's long history by Superman no longer being the one who starts the Age of Heroes. Superman movie where he gets his ass kicked for like 2 hours straight. Now again, people will say that, let me just make it clear. I have nothing against Superman being in a fight and taking some blows. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a difference between being in a fight and taking some blows, but still fighting, than getting your ass handed to you for 2 hours straight. A lot of people tend to use Superman, the animated series, as a reference to how Superman should be, when it's not. The people who worked on that series actually came out and admitted that they intentionally made Superman weaker. And when you look at that series, Superman is weaker than how he's supposed to be. And James Gunn spent that entire movie showing Superman getting the crap beat out of him and the dog being more important. Plus, like I said, you change things. You basically said, meta-humans have been on Earth for over 300 years and Superman showing up, but there's Superman showing up. You try to act like, okay, this is somehow important. No, but nobody cares. Continues on, every new movie or show Gunn announces comes with clear nods to the comics that inspired it. The upcoming Supergirl film wears its influence on its sleeve. Yes, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow that Tom King wrote, where he basically ripped off True Grit. And if you look back through what Supergirl been around for like 70 years or more by now, you understand me? The entire history of Kara Zor-El, that whole Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is a completely different character from her. That's what it is. Right? They're going to say, while Creature Commandos already driving fans back to dig through the obscure back issues, who in God's name is doing that? Nobody even remembers Creature Commandos. Like I said, I literally did a video for Creature Commandos. I reviewed the first few episodes. The second to the episodes, filmed the video and everything, edited, ready to upload. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody cares about this. I don't care about it. And I just deleted it. Nobody cares. Creature Commandos hasn't done anything to anybody. Creature Commandos was supposed to be what James was going to start off his whole thing with. No. I talk about everything he does is every new movie or show Gunn announces. What movie or show? You were supposed to have a line of what it is you were going to do. Pretty much broken from that. Now we don't know what the hell you're getting, but that's what's going on. Even bigger projects like Superman and Peacemaker are unapologetically rooted in comic book lore and bringing obscure characters like Metamorpho and White Rabbit into the spotlight. You go back to Peacemaker's origin, the character is completely different. Now, I can't speak for the new Peacemaker. Like I said, I have not watched the first season. I haven't watched the second season. He was in the Suicide Squad movie. And certain things when they were doing when were kind of funny. But other than that, the characters never really interest me enough to care when it comes to anything at all. I don't like what James Gunn has done with Superman. I think the whole thing and that whole whiny speech is woman was not how Superman was supposed to behave and act at all. Them trunks, the one looks like he's wearing some kind of diaper. It doesn't look good. And I did not like the way he represented Superman in this movie at all. I understand some people like it. I'm just saying overall, I did not like it at all. That was my take on it. Talk about characters like Metamorpho and White Rabbit. Metamorpho was a pretty cool character when done correctly. What did we get in James Gunn Superman, a weepy crybaby who wanted to save his son and then came back and could, like, come on now, man. Come on. And White Rabbit, yeah, White Rabbit is an interesting character when done well, but does anybody care? No. No. That's what they go on. That's what makes this new era of DC Comics feel different. It's all about letting DC be itself. Well, if this is DC letting DC be itself, then maybe DC needs to do something else. The big screen DCU is finally embracing its comic book identity, tropes and all. For once, there doesn't need to be a massive reboot or fresh start on the publishing side to line up with the movies. Readers curious about the DCU can be pointed straight towards the classic stories it's built on, diving into the legacy that made DC great in the first place. What exact DC comic do you have to look at to coincide with the Superman movie? And I understand the John Byrne thing where Superman parents thought that people on Earth were a bunch of primitive savages and all of that. But having Superman's parents tell him to go to Earth, conquer it, get a harem, screw women from sun up to sundown to rebuild some new Krypton, that's kind of freaking stupid. Why would you send a baby there to do that? Why? Why not just come yourself and everyone and raise him to do that if that's what you wanted? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Really, really doesn't. I talk about, there's no massive reboot of further. They even mentioned in this article, they talk about Harley Quinn, right? And all of this stuff, I think with that, and talk about how it's going to be interesting and all of that. The thing with Harley Quinn started off in Batman, the animated series. The character was interesting there enough that, got a comic book adaptation. The character wasn't very popular in comics, but what made the character popular is that people where women started dressing as her for like Comic-Con and Halloween and that brought in an actual interest into the comics, so the sales kind of did rise. But then DC did what they always did, ruined the character so freaking completely that now she's a complete shell of anything she ever was. You understand me? That's all the character is, a literal embarrassment unto herself. Seriously, that is all that Harley Quinn is at this point. You can't look at Harley Quinn and say, well, this is interesting in any way, shape, or form. It's not. The character is completely busted now. There's nothing in when it comes to that character that make you say, hey, this is interesting. No, let me say, what the hell is this? That's how bad this character is. That's it. That's how bad Harley Quinn is as a character now. I can go through the whole rundown of why Harley Quinn is terrible. I'll make another video about it some other time and you to understand in regards to it. But this whole thing about this is going on isn't going to work. I'll continue on. That seems to be the core of DC's new ethos, showcasing the depth of its comic book history without discarding what came before. That's exactly what they're doing, but they're discarding what came before. With DC's own comic app making readers of stories making decades of stories more accessible than ever, this is a perfect moment to bridge the gap between long-time readers and curious newcomers. It really gotta sell that. See, This is the same thing. It doesn't work, people. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because the same thing happened with the MCU. The MCU when it came out was popular. Was popular. And I think was that when people thought, you know what, maybe I could check out some of these comics. There were not a whole massive Russian movie, but there was some. When they went to the stores, they weren't getting the MCU carried on because at that point in time, Marvel was doing their all new, all woke and inclusive crap. You have to understand you're always going to have separation of certain things. You're going to have people who read comics, you're going to have people who watch movies, you're going to have people who watch TV series. That's it. There are going to be some people within those three brackets that do all three, right? But you're not going to find massive crossover with all. It's the same thing when it comes to like Asian countries. There are people who only read manga, people who only watch anime, and people who may only play video games. There is a cause. There are some people who will watch an anime and then get into the manga. Some people will read a manga and then get into the anime because they will say, you know what, this looks so cool in the manga. I can't wait to see this animated. Marvel didn't do that. They didn't live up to what was being done. DC is sure as hell not going to do that because the Creature Commandos is any villain of what they plan to do. It ain't gonna happen. For all intents and purposes, when it comes to James Gunn Superman, it did not perform that well at the box office. To be perfectly honest with you, it did not perform well at the box office. It did not break even, did not make its money back, nothing. It was pretty mid at the box office. It made some money, but it did not make any kind of money to be thing with it at all. And that's just a fact. And that's just a fact, people. That's just a fact. Pretty mid overall, that was it. In regards to it now, there are other things to look at. Like, what are you going to do? Because what James Gunn has done is not really selling anybody in regards to this at all. I haven't heard anything in regards to the animated side of DC for quite some while because they're losing money because they won't do anything. Years ago, they literally had an option to do a animated Batman Beyond movie and decided to pass on that because those idiots don't like money. That should tell you. But like I said, there's not going to be any big chorus. And I can tell you, from what I'm seeing, I don't think James Gunn is saving DC Comics or is DCU is the next big thing. No. I don't see that at all. Ideally, this new era will see comics and movies working in sync. No, it won't. Rather than the publishing side simply reacting to the screen in ways that erase the past, that should never happen. The comics are the comics. The movie screen should take from the comics. It should never be the other way around. Ever. Marvel tried it and look at how badly they have screwed up. Look at how badly Marvel has damaged themselves. Burton's Gotham, may have sparked a wave of reimagined comic imagery back in the day, but now the focus is where it should be, celebrating the artists, writers, editors, colorists, letterers, and publishers who built this universe in the first place. How are any people being celebrated? Again, James Gunn has nothing to do with DC Comics. So this whole article is just basically some kind of clickbait to kind of get in, but that's all it is. But there's somebody spouting nonsense to spout nonsense. James Gunn is not saving DC Comics. His DCU isn't saving anything, and this is not going to work out the way anybody's hoping. Honestly, from what I've seen, I don't have much hope for this at all. Going forward, I really don't. We still have no idea when we're going to be getting the actual Trinity in the DCU, and I don't see this working out anywhere. But I can what he's doing is staying true to the comics on that. No, it isn't. I don't think James Gunn understands the character of Superman at all. And the fact that he's out there telling Tom King is the best writer DC has, that alone should tell you this guy isn't up to doing this at all. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.